Thank you for joining us. Just as predicted, many states in Nigeria are witnessing heavy rainfall resulting in flooding. Earlier, before the peak of the rainy season, the Nigeria Hydrological Service Agency had warned Nigerians to expect heavy flooding this year, listing Lagos and Osun states as likely to experience more flood-related disasters. With a downpour almost daily in Lagos State and several other states, people are experiencing untold hardship, from losing property to the disruption of regular activities. What measures should be put in place to check Nigeria's flooding problem, especially since it has become an annual occurrence? Joining me in the studio is environmentalist and MD CEO Mark Press West Africa Limited, Ido Salawa. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Veronica. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Before we look at solutions, because this issue, we've been talking about solution over time. Perhaps we really need to understand this issue of flooding in Nigeria. Why Nigeria keeps finding itself in this situation over time, and it keeps getting worse, seems to get worse over the years. Since 2012, we realize that the situation gets worse. What are the key drivers that makes Nigeria face this situation on a yearly basis? We know there is the climate change, but that aside, how are we as a people even contributing to what we are seeing happening?
Thank you. What I will talk about is the area of where is Nigeria located.
On the basin.
On the basin. If you look at River Niger and River Benue, so Nigeria becomes
the
where the conflict. Okay. So that means if it's coming from the Niger Republic, from Cameroon, so we are the receiving end, at the receiving end. So that means what we need to look into is, what do we do when the water is coming from the upstream? Because we are now at the downstream. So what do we do to control the flow and to manage the excess water? Now, the rainy season will definitely come.
Absolutely.
And what we are witnessing now in terms of flooding is flash flood. Flash flood, urban flooding, due to activities of human beings, such as blocking the drainages channel, building our own, not adhering to building code, building on floodplain. All these have effects.
That's what we are seeing.
Yeah, that's exactly what we are seeing.
Wow.
And don't forget, the prediction says 28 states.
Yes.
We have normal rainfall, normal. 302 local government, normal. 121 state local government area, we have excess rainfall. And that is where we have problem of flooding that may happen. Again, look at the season we have now. We are battling with insurgency. The agrarian area, they couldn't go to farm. We are battling with COVID-19, economic impact. Now it's flooding. And that is where I am concerned. How do we go about this economic impact of all these three disaster that is befalling us right now?
As much as I would like for us to discuss that, because we still have time to dwell on the economic impact, let's even understand the problem. That for me is very key. You mentioned the fact that Nigeria is at the receiving end of the basin when the waters are released. We are not realizing, this is not the first time. We have been aware over the years. What are we doing to addressing this? Because over time, when I read reports, having conversations with countries along those lines to say, okay, perhaps we should build a dam to have that holding dam for this waters. Do we know where those conversations are at this point? Well, because when you look at the monies lost at addressing, this issue over the years, let me take from 2012, it's much more than building a dam.
Okay, fine. The flood risk management plan is what you are referring to.
Yes.
Part of the flood risk management plan is where the area of dam will come for. what I mean by that is that there is what we call prevention.
Right.
And there is what we call mitigation.
All right.
Now, under mitigation is where the infrastructure of flood control system comes from. If we are saying Lagos Dam will soon release their water, excess water, now the area from Cameroon, that is the river Benue, yeah, coming through Cameroon down. So if we are looking at where to build a dam to release that excess water so that people along the bank of River Benue will not suffer excessive flooding, we should be looking at between, what's it called, where River Benue enter Nigeria. So we're looking at...
it holds it up there?
Yes, up there from Adamawa to Benue. Down there should be a dam to be constructed there to hold the excess water, and could be used for other things. That's what we call water containment. You contain the water, and during dry season, you can now release the water for irrigation. So that is the positive aspect of excess water.
Right.
Flood itself has its own positive benefit. So that's the area. But when last did we even have flood management plan? If a study is carried out, then we'll be able to determine where it's suitable to put those dams to receive the excess water coming from Lagos dams. And again, if you look at the Sokoto axis, where River Niger is coming in through the Republic of Benin. So the same thing before you get to Lokoja, the confluence area. So we should have our own dam to receive those excess water. Now, what will be the effect if we don't have control of flooding? We have the agricultural produce will not, farmer will not be able to go to farm.
We've seen a lot of farms lost in the process.
You can see in your documentary what you show there. Yeah, a lot of farmland have been submerged. Property worth millions of naira, life sometimes. And UNESCO and United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization said globally over $300 billion is lost to disaster related to water. Globally, and Nigeria is included. And we are talking about food increase, food security, and this and that. This is one of the reasons why we should pay attention to one of the major causes of flooding. Even though it's natural disaster, we still have man-made. We still have human error. We still have human activities contributing. Yeah.
You mentioned something that I want you to expatiate on earlier, talking about the economic issues here, the economic impact. You have mentioned a few of it, but I want for you to really expatiate on this matter so that we, those who are watching, understand. There is the aspect for government, there is the aspect for people, and the federal government, it's a collective effort. Everyone has to join hands to address this matter. When you are talking about the economic impact, help us break it down to understand it properly.
I'll break it down to what happened to me in 2019, because I'm a farmer too.
All right.
Yes, I had a farm in Itoikin, near Ikorodu there. And I was planting watermelon to prepare for the our fasting period. And all of a sudden, the weather just changed. The watermelon has started coming up. And started seeing only 2 hectares of land out of my 10 hectares. The next thing I just saw was the whole area was submerged, waterlogged. And I lost the 2 hectares of land of watermelon, value close to 3 to 4 million naira. And now imagine those who are doing it every time in the same area, and their area got flooded every day, every year. So where would they go to? Thank God it was my money I used. So that was a personal experience. But let me now break it down. If a farmer who have invested huge money resources to plant. And he has to plant near the river because he need water to wet the agriculture, the farm produce. Yes. And all of a sudden we have this natural disaster that comes. So that's one area. The next thing you see, the next year you won't be able to have bumper harvest. And there will be food scarcity, then the prices will skyrocket. So these are one of the major problems. Another one, what we are doing as a people is that we are contributing to this, is that when we are told this is floodplain area, we should not do any human activities there. You see people going to buy land, building, erecting, bribing public officer, and public officer too will be collecting that money and be saying they look at
corruption.
It's corruption. That's one area. So we are all going to suffer for it. Now, I give you an example of government responsibility too. The Ecological Fund Office in Abuja, they do developmental project to control flood in area. It's a capital-intensive project. Federal government will embark on that and do it for a state. A state that's supposed to do maintenance dredging. That's a capital dredging they are embarking on. And I give you an example of the one I was involved too. In 2012, we did the project for 4 years in Ilorin Asa River. And we handed it over to the state government. The federal government spent close to 1.2 billion to do the project. And between 2016 that we handed it over, and now, no single project was done on that thing just to maintain the particular channel that we have done. Now, the whole area is flooded again. Federal government is now embarking on phase 2 of the project. Same thing all over the state, all over
so
federation.
Invariably, you're saying states are not taking responsibility.
They are not. So that should be collaboration between federal government, federal agency that is embarking on this project for state. When they are giving it to them, they should sign a kind of agreement on maintenance. And that is the problem, the recklessness in government all over. You can't you can't do capital dredging and leave it. Every year there will be siltation. And the level of siltation is high. And that will deface the purpose of the project.
Right.
If you don't desilt, and this should be periodic. Every month, every three months, you must have swamp boogie, you must have excavator, you must have equipment flowing on the river, desilting it. And again, we need to ask our state government, they should try and spend money the right way on waste management. Proper waste management should be put in place. Because most of the waste are not being collected. They are there, and that's why you see during rainy season, you see the flood bringing it out. We are just doing the waste management in the surface of what we want the politician to see. And waste management is a kind of business, a kind of project that can create a lot of employment, benefit, but there are so many benefits in waste management.
The issue now is the fact that this conversation is something we have year in, year out.
Yeah.
And Nigerians are wondering, why is it so difficult to do the right thing?
It's not peculiar to Nigeria alone.
Right.
The city of New York got flooded of recent.
Right.
When they had this Ida storm. But that one is classified. We can see that it was because of the storm that their infrastructure could not hold the excess water.
Now, that's what I'm saying. They have structures in place.
Yes, they have it.
We talk about this, but do not seem to have the structures in place. And where we have structure in place, there is no maintenance.
So this is part of the major problem we are facing. We have some area that I want to give credit to Lagos State of recent. They embark in serious maintenance dredging of recent. And that's what reduced, and that's why you see what happened this year to flooding in Lagos is flash flood. It goes within 1 hour, 1 hour, except some area in Lekki that they have not maybe done most of the major collectors. So for this year, I give them commendation on the area of maintenance dredging that they've embarked on before the rainy season starts. So that's one area. So if they can continue like that, the effect will be minimal. But you know, the system that we have in Lagos, system 1 to system 5, they are all there, or system 6, they are there. They are natural system, they are natural drainage channel that need to be embarked on in terms of expansion.
But let's put Lagos aside, because Lagos is one state out of 36.
Yeah.
And the Federal Capital Territory. We know states that, you know, face this matter that it gets worse. Talk about Kogi State. Talk about some other states in the north. We are not seeing these things. I don't understand. I don't know if there are levels of engagement, because you are in this is your sector. Are there some level of engagement? Have you tried to see that? Maybe we can talk to the states to see what we can do to help reduce the impact of flooding.
See, I want to tell you one thing. Infrastructure development for flood control is highly expensive. It's capital intensive. State alone cannot bear it. And that's why we have intervention fund.
Right.
So those intervention funds is where they should cry to. But do they do the needful, what they are supposed to do?
That's the question.
You're supposed to do your own part. Identify these projects. Well, federal government will tell you every month, we give you, we disburse part of ecological fund. It is the one that belongs to federal government that we take, we just go to any state that approach us. Some states, that approach them. Yeah. That this is a problem I cannot face alone. Then you play the politics with it. Yes. But you can see some states, they don't even know. They don't even know how to go about it. Now, let me give you one example that is just behind us here. The Kara market.
Right.
Is near the Ogun River. That Kara cattle market.
Yes.
That's an eyesore. That place should be relocated. Because the human activity that goes there every day in Kara market at that river, by the river, do you know the amount of human and animal excreta that goes into that river? The siltation level of that river is at its maximum peak. There was a time that river was covered with aquatic weeds, water hyacinth, and people were working on it. And they thought it was a magic. And nobody has done anything since that time. So until it did not become problem that will now cost a lot of money, Ogun State by now should wake up and relocate those people in Kara to another area, because that place is a floodplain area, and let them develop that area for a better commercial venture. They have to desilt and dredge that river. Because when you are even dredging it, you can't get the sand that is even of economic value. What you'll be bringing now is mud.
Right.
So you need to even evacuate. So now let's now see the amount of money you are going to spend in desilting that river, that portion where Kara is, which was caused by negligence of some people in government who didn't look into that area. There is an eyesore.
Perhaps we need to look at awareness, level of awareness, because if we are saying people are not taking responsibility of addressing certain issues, another question will be, how aware are they about the implications of what they are not addressing?
See, federal government has done a lot this year in terms of prediction, preparedness, and awareness. No state, nobody in Nigeria does not know that we have heavy rainfall this year. So we should give NIMET their own credit. Yes.
Absolutely.
So everybody, all those, in fact, Lagos State got to the extent that it was like warning people along the river bank that you should relocate, because we are expecting heavy rain this year. Now we had August break. Now the rain started in September and it's becoming heavy. Between now and between September, October, maybe first week in November, we're going to have it heavy. And what we're having right now is urban flooding. Now we are still going to contend with ocean flooding.
Really?
Yes. Because before we know it, when we have too much water going into the river, going into the ocean, there will be high tide, it will overflow. So people in the coastal area will start experiencing ocean flooding after the downpour. So now we are now to start looking at health implication of that.
Right. Because
most of the well surface water will be heavily polluted.
Is that why we're seeing the level of cholera?
Yeah, of course, that's one of it. Because most of your sewer line will be submerged. And so flood disaster is one of the major disasters that affect a lot of things. And so we must try to, if we are going to do anything in terms of our own responsibility, government responsibility. First thing first to do is let each state government come up with a blueprint of flood risk management plan. There, you will know every year, okay, what happened in Lekki-Ajah Expressway in 2016 or 2014 when it recorded the first flooding on that road? Has anybody done any study on that water? What really happened?
Right.
Did they come up with a study of the quantum of water that we received at that Lekki-Ajah Expressway at that time? So that they will be able to know. And what we preliminary investigation we saw was that the collector drain along that expressway is too small. It cannot contain the level of water that is coming in. Now, since Atlantic City has been developing along that Ahmadu Bello Way, we have not seen ocean flooding coming to the city, coming to the road, Ahmadu Bello. Now, that place has been stabilized. But the effect is being felt in other coastal area, like Eleko, like Oniru, all this area, because of the strengthening of the shoreline. So the level at which the water now is flowing on Ahmadu Bello Way now, what they need to do now is to work on the drainage collectors on both sides, so that we now go and drain into the Cowrie Bridge. Because that's the flow. So that we won't have flow, we won't have overflow of Ahmadu Bello Way. The federal government is now doing a rehabilitation on that road now through the Sukuk or something like that. So, which is a good one. We know what we normally experience on Ahmadu Bello Way. So the entire investment on Victoria Island now, if we want to contain it now, is just to make sure that we start working on all the drainage collector that drain the water from the city into the lagoon into the ocean. So
urbanization, what it means is when we're looking at expanding, building, urbanizing the city, if I may use the word, that a lot of things have to be considered, especially with regards to flooding.
Yes. When you are having urbanization, there must be city plan. You must have city plan. City plan, what I mean by this is that you must have where market will be. You must have where, what's it called, where people converge. And you must be able to delineate different aspects of social amenities.
Can we start rejigging things as it is at this point?
No, of course, because see, I give you an example again. Olusosun dumpster should not be there again. Should not be in that Ojota again. Because most of the ways there is constituting nuisance. It's an eyesore. The same thing to Kara. These are urban rejuvenation that we're talking about. You can convert that place to energy because of the resources, natural resources that is there already. The waste that has been buried there, you can start collecting the gas. That place should be winding down for closure. You should be thinking of new waste management system that will conform with flood pattern. Whereby the waste management is being curtailed and you are able to, from generation to disposal, nobody see naked waste. And that is why the collection system is a little bit where they just hype it a little bit of recent by buying those equipment so that they can go interland and collect more waste, so that during rainy season we won't have, then they are desilting most of the canal. That's good. But the major aspect of where the waste goes to should not be another area of disaster for us. So we should try to work everything. That's where city planning is very, very important and is key in environmental management plan for a city.
Right. So much has been said, and especially the aspect of states coming up with flood management plans ahead of the flash floods and all of it before the rains begin, basically. Thank you so much, environmentalist and MD CEO, Mark Press West Africa Limited. Do allow for your time on the program.
Thank you for having me.